Use the hate, don't act the fool. Spewing words, vile and cruel. Live by the golden rule. Consider it kind and just be cool.
Hello and welcome to the Just Be Cool show, and we are the Just Be Cool guys. I'm here with Reggie, and I'm Paco.
Yeah, the Just Be Cool show is a continuation of our summer 2020 campaign, and we're having a good time with it.
And just to let you know a little bit more about us, we are two longtime educators in Tallahassee who taught together for a while at a high school together here in town. And then we even started a faculty rock band once upon a time, and we were called the Weapons of Mass Instruction.
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
Those were good times.
They were crazy times.
So we no longer teach at the same high school, but we're still good friends. We've known each other for about 15 odd years or so. I was hired as a faculty member at a local community college, and Paco said to himself, well, there's no point me sticking around at this school without Reggie around. So so he moved to a different high school across town.
That's right. And fast forwarding to just this past summer, when schools started switching to online learning, and we were dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we were stuck at home. But Reggie and I found a way to safely kind of come together, and we would meet a few times a week and play racquetball to stay healthy and get some exercise. And then in April or May, when there were these the nationwide protests because of the deaths of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and Ahmaud Arbery, and others since then, we just kept coming back to these ideas and what can we do and how do we direct this frustration?
Yeah. So we as we always do, Paco and I, we talk about different issues of the day. It was just a way to kind of get out and so we were cooped up for quite a long time. So, but we've had this saying that we adopted a long time ago. It says, "Just be cool." So, the injustices of those deaths really inspired us. And one day we just said, "Hey, what if we were to start a campaign and to inspire other people to just be cool?" And so we wanted to just get that message out.
Yeah, and so we were brainstorming what are the key aspects to this idea of just being cool, and how do we condense that down to a message that anybody, no matter where you are, you can understand. What are the key aspects of that? And so what we have is don't be a racist, don't be sexist, don't be homophobic, and in general, just don't be hateful, just be cool. And so that became the idea for this shirt that we developed, and yeah, there we go. And sometimes, occasionally there might be an additional expletive put in there in the middle for emphasis. But really the heart of the message is just be cool, and the world would be so much better.
Well, as a journalism professor and a communications professional, I will say that I can neither confirm or deny that there was actually an expletive ever inserted into our slogan. It sounds a lot like rumor and innuendo. Yes, check your sources. We need those facts checked.
So we did. We pitched this idea to one another. We refined it. We got feedback, and what we ended up doing was coming up with a Kickstarter campaign, and we were selling T-shirts as a fundraiser, and we had a successful summer campaign. And now we're back in school. We are still kind of trying to get this idea out to as many people as possible on social media, and people are actually still buying the shirts, and they're joining us to help us take a stand against divisiveness, fighting for tolerance.
Yeah, and then one day we said, "Hey, why don't we just start a web show? I mean, why not, right?
Why not?"
And so, and like Paco said, the shirts and the Just Be Cool show are all about celebrating tolerance and positivity.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So Reggie and I, we are amongst those who are back at work. So many folks are still working from home. And so I think we came up with this, especially Reggie really came up with this idea for the web show, just to kind of create a sense of solidarity for for those of us in whatever situation that we're in. And so, you know, we're going to try to get some of those folks on. We're going to have guests on this show. We're going to talk about positivity and how people are being cool all across the world. And we actually have a guest on for today's show. And her name is Taylor Lifka, a 9th grade English teacher in Roma, Texas. And she, unfortunately, for a time was suspended from her teaching position because she posted something on her social media that was found to be offensive or objectionable to some folks, when really all she was trying to do was advocate for the very same ideas that we're trying to get out there, which is tolerance and acceptance. So we're going to hear from Taylor today.
So we're here with Taylor Lifka, and Taylor, it's really good to see you. I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you so much for spending time to come onto the first episode of the Just Be Cool show. And you know, would you mind briefly explaining the circumstances that resulted in your suspension?
Sure. So, wow, it's been a while, but back at the end of August, we started school on August 24th was the first day. It was a Monday. And the first time I heard anything from anyone at my school district was on Saturday, the 22nd. And it was just a simple text message that asked me to take the posters down in my virtual Bitmoji classroom. And the Bitmoji classroom had actually never yet been posted on anything related to the school district. It hadn't even been posted in my Google Classroom yet, but it had been shared on my personal social media. And then that started somehow spiraling the internet. A woman running for a seat in a Republican seat here for Texas, she had sort of gotten a hold of it, and it was spreading all over the internet, and then causing a bit of controversy. And my assistant principal just sent me a text that said, "Can you take the posters down?" And over the course of about 36 hours, we talked about it. And ultimately I said that there was no compromising on my students and my students' identity, and I wasn't comfortable taking the posters down. And after that conversation, maybe about 5 hours later or 3 hours later, I heard from my principal and said I was going to be placed on administrative leave.
Wow. And so,
I'm sorry, yeah. Reggie, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Paco.
I was going to say that's got to be really scary and intimidating to have so much attention all of a sudden kind of like directed and aimed at you.
Totally. I think it all happened so fast, and that was really overwhelming. Sort of, right, like take the posters down, and that in of itself, I just remember feeling really, I guess, stressed, because I knew that wasn't something that I was really willing to do. And once I had talked to my mom about it, though, she was very much like, I guess, alerting me that, hey, you could lose your job over this because you're insubordinate and you're not doing what the district has asked of you. So I sort of had like what felt like a split-second decision to decide what was most important to me. But from then on until this day, I always stay true to the decision that I made. And I'm really confident that was the right thing to do, and I would do it again. And it's always about my kids and making sure that they feel valued and affirmed in my classroom, and knowing that their identities are, it shouldn't be anything other than that. It's not political, it's not divisive, but my kids are who they are, and that matters.
That is, I mean, and that's what you would hope that we would all do as teachers, isn't it? Is to look out for your kids. So it's for having someone to call you on something like that has got to kind of rock you to your core, right?
Totally. And I think that's what it's all about. Is I told my mom, like, I'm not going to be able to go to bed at night and feel okay saying, okay, I'll take the posters down. Because it's not just about the posters, right? It's about validating our kids. And all I could think is, what about my kids who are part of the LGBTQ plus community, or who are part of the Black community and are sitting there, or were to catch wind or hear me say, like, okay, I'll take the posters down, right? And that would just never be okay with me. So I think you're really hitting it there at you, and you say it just rocks you to your core, right? It's just so much more important than a poster.
Yeah, absolutely. How have you been supported in that time? Because there was backlash. I mean, there was a lot of people who, my understanding, supported you know, or said that, well, you shouldn't be doing that. And then, but there were people on the other side who were saying, you know, you should be doing it. So,
Totally.
you know, how do you feel about how everything kind of escalated and ended up?
Definitely. I think that more than anything, this conversation it's shown me how polarized this conversation really is, right? There are people who are so adamantly against what I've done, saying that, you know, it's me making a decision for my children or my kids and saying that this is so wrong. It's not a teacher's place in the classroom to be talking politics. And then there are people on the other side, like you're saying, who are fully supportive of this. This is just affirming our kids and making a safe space and teaching anti-racist practices and teaching tolerance in the classroom is what a teacher's job is, right, as an educator. And what's been really challenging, I think, through all of this is trying to navigate that conversation. And that's something that I'm still working on. And it's hard because I have people flooding my inbox still saying, like, this is what we should be doing and let's band together and keep working on this. And then there are people calling me, right, a Marxist or calling me a racist or calling me X, Y, and Z. And that's hard because I'm a firm believer that not engaging in conversation with people who have a different mindset than you isn't doing anything for the cause, right? I think that when we leave those people to their own devices and don't engage and try to meet halfway, then we're not creating any change, right? But what I found is that it's just so extremely divisive, and trying to find middle ground and communicate across differences is so challenging for an adult and for children or kids or young adults, right? So that's been hard. But I will say that ultimately, you know, the people who really raise their voices and ultimately got me my job back were my students. If you followed along with this story, an old graduate from Roma ISD created a petition, and the title was, you know, reinstate Taylor Lifka to Roma ISD, or remove Taylor Lifka from administrative leave. That petition ended up getting over 50,000 likes or signatures. And if I was on social media at the time, or people sending me, like, the people who were sharing that mostly were my students, and the support from the community was unparalleled. And I think it just really goes back to the message of all of this is like, why do I have 40-year-olds messaging me that are so divisive on this, but we've got 14-year-olds, you know, my neighbor used to be my student, and he walked by when this all happened and was like, I don't get it, miss. Like, aren't you just asking people to treat everyone with respect? So the kids get it, and my kids understand, and those kids will be the future leaders of this country. And I have to believe that we're in for a change soon.
And I think I speak for Reggie here when I say that I think both of us are so, we have so much respect for you, and we're so inspired by your story. And just the absolute bravery that it takes for you to take a stand like that. Can you talk about where you get that sense of just this thing that you have to do? You have to stand up for your kids. You have to speak for tolerance and for acceptance. Where do you think that comes from for you?
That's a really good question. I have not been asked that yet in this journey. I think that's just always really who I've been as a person. And I think I really learned that from my mom. I think we learn first and foremost in the household, right? And I was raised by my mother, a strong, independent woman, worked 50 hours plus a day, and then was always there for me as the best mom in the world. And you know, I just think instilled those values in me from the day that I was born. Like, this is what you believe in. And if you have something to say, then, you know, use your voice and speak up about it. I just think that I've really kind of lived my whole life that way. And I don't know, something just like deeply seated in me. I think sometimes it's my mom would always say, it's like your greatest strength and your greatest weakness. Sometimes I don't know when to stop talking. But sometimes I think it serves for a greater cause. But like I was saying to Reggie at the beginning, like, I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to sleep at night, right? Because I think I truly believe that we're placed on this earth to do something, right? Or to make something happen. And we're just sitting here and saying, okay, when we know that it's not what we strongly believe, then we're just not doing our job.
Yeah.
But
and you seem to be driven by your students. You seem to look to them for guidance. Yeah.
Totally. I had one student message me to my work email we live in a really small town here, so words traveled very, very, very fast. And when I didn't show up the first day of work, I think people started chatting or whatever. And it was really, I think, after that first day that I had a student message me that I taught last year. And he said, "Miss, this is what you always teach us, is to stand up for what's right. And now it's your turn to do what you ask us to do." And so I think that really hit me. Like, wow. If I'm going to stand up there every day and tell my 14-year-olds that, I hope that they pass the STAR test, or I hope they're successful in their academics, but if they walk out of my classroom and they're not a good person, then I failed at my job. For them then to bring that back onto me and say, like, now is your opportunity to do what you tell us to do. I'm going to get emotional, but that just speaks wonders. If my kids can say that and call me out on that and hold me accountable, because that's what I do for them, that means that we have that mutual respect, and we're all really working in this together, right, toward a greater change. And that's when I knew, like, okay, I'm in this, whatever it's going to take, because they're counting on me.
And that's the thing is really strange, is that there are some parents who just think that we're just about the content, like we're just going to teach you a couple of things, right? Well, and we had this conversation, didn't we, Paco? Maybe, was it a week, two weeks ago? Mm-hmm. It's like, it's almost like the content is also some kind of like a byproduct, right? Because if students don't come out of your classes and graduate and become better citizens, like, what are we doing?
Totally.
So
totally. And I think, like, I always think too, people want to talk about the content. So many people commenting, or parents saying, like, stick to the content. That's your job. Like, you're getting paid to teach the content. Okay. But if my students don't feel comfortable in my space, or they're skipping class and they're in the bathroom, or they're on the football field because they don't feel welcome or safe or valued in here, then what does the content matter when they're not even here, right? Or when they're in class but their head's down, or they're, drifting off into space because they don't feel validated in my space, or they're scared, or they're just not feeling welcome. It's the first step to anything. Like, I always think that. And I think back to my own experience in classes where I didn't feel valued, or, I always tell my kids I struggled so hard in math and science and growing up. And like in high school, I never wanted to go to chem, and I would just sit there and phase out, because I felt like no matter what I did, I would be made fun of by the teacher for getting the wrong answer, right? And there wasn't any learning happening because I just didn't feel welcome in that space. And this is a whole nother side of that, right? Not just because, that's me talking about, maybe I wasn't the brightest kid in the room, but this is on a whole nother level, validating my kids for who they are and their identity and their racial identity or their sexual identity or their gender identity. That's who we are, and it matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, just like what Paco was saying, we have so much respect for you, and it must have been very difficult. I felt your pain when I emailed you and you emailed back so quickly, and I don't know, I felt a connection to you and the movement that we are all creating.
And I want to thank you all for reaching out to me, because obviously it was a wacky time, and still is, and it's hard sometimes to know if you're doing the right thing. And I think there was a lot of that too, like, am I doing the right thing by my kids or for my kids? A lot of people said that to me, like, what do you think you're doing? Because if you're not going to be in the classroom, then what change are you making, or who are we helping? And so to have people like y'all to reaffirm that this is the right thing to do really means the world to me. So Thank you so much for including me and reaching out. And holy cow, this is such a community of strong-willed people who really care about their job and their profession. And if you're not in it for the kids, then you're not in it, right? Because we're not in it for the grading, and we're not in it for the lesson planning.
Definitely not.
And all
for the money. It's for the money.
It's for the money. It's definitely for the money.
Well, and I think what you said about just hearing your students give you the immediate feedback, I think that's the answer that you needed to hear, and that gives you all the validation, is that totally. That you have shown how to do it, and your students, when they are inevitably put in that position where they have to make that decision, they will have you to look back on And I think it's amazing. And
Yeah.
I know that
Thank you.
we're very proud to have you here with us to share your story.
Yes.
Thank
Absolutely.
you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, we've had so much fun with you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. Y'all are a blast, and I'm really appreciative, one, for reaching out with the shirt. That really, it got me. I used to, last month, I was always like, oh my gosh, like, gotta get the mail. Maybe it's gonna be something cool. And when this came, it was a good thing.
Awesome.
That's pretty sad when the best part of your day is getting the mail. I feel like that's what happens when you're like 80 years old, but I'm only 25.
Yes.
Well, thank you for letting us take this time with you, and we look forward to talking to you again.
Yeah.
Of course. Let's stay in touch.
Yes, absolutely. You take care, Taylor.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
We'll see. Bye. Bye. So, since the Just Be Cool show is a celebration of tolerance and positivity, we plan on sharing some news stories with you. In Charlotte, North Carolina, a single dad adopted his 13-year-old foster son 2 years after the boy was abandoned at a hospital by his previous foster parents.
Yeah, this is a really, really heartwarming story. When we read about it, this father, he had heard the story of this young man and how he had been abandoned, and just 2 days after knowing him, he knew that he had to become the full-time foster parent for this young boy. So it's a really great story. Yeah.
I mean, if you talk about inspiration, and you just look at the images of these, these two guys together, I mean, you can just really feel the love they have for each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another feel-good article. Chef Jose Andres continues his philanthropy by feeding people in need. His nonprofit, World Central Kitchen, will provide free meals on Election Day, November 3rd, near polling centers in more than 24 cities, including Chicago, Los Angeles, and Pittsburgh.
Is Tallahassee on that list?
I doubt Tallahassee will make the cut.
That's okay. I mean, I don't even vote on Election Day. I can't even remember the last time I voted actually on Election Day. For me, I cast my ballot during early voting, and this October 19th is the first day of early voting in Leon County, and I've been researching how early I can actually get there because I have a class on that day. But then I started thinking to myself, well, everyone's on Zoom. Who will even know?
This is the age of Zoom. Just put them into breakout rooms. They'll never even know you're gone.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
They'll never even know.
Okay, kids, you're in breakout rooms. I'll be right back.
Exactly. And you know what? Despite there's so much noise out in the world about voting and everything, like we are lucky, at least here in Leon County, that we have a pretty solid supervisor of elections. And actually, I cast my vote today. I did mail-in voting.
Oh, wow. Very nice. I hope it gets there.
I hope so too.
For our next segment, we want to highlight a few of the photos of our supporters wearing the Just Be Cool t-shirt. And the very first one we have is Mr. Benjamin Crump himself. We have a superstar civil rights attorney who is using his...
Haven't I seen him like on all of the cable news networks?
Every one of them.
Yeah.
He's using his platform to fight for equality and justice, and he's from Tallahassee, and we are very, very proud of him.
Absolutely.
And then we have number 2, we have G. Wright Moore, an attorney from South Florida who was swimming with her son at a local pool when another swimmer called the police on them for talking across the lanes, which actually, is not something that was, illegal or anything like that, or even against the rules at the pool. The most
basic example of not being cool. Right?
Yes.
I mean, how far out of your way do you have to go to show how uncool you are? Like that's kind of sad, actually.
Well, not only that, it's not only is it uncool, but it's dangerous because calling the police on Black people for no good reason has had some deadly consequences in the past. So we sent, she's known as G. We sent G a shirt for her and her son, and she went ahead and sent pictures in. Thank you so much for that, G.
Thank you.
Okay, and the Just Be Cool campaign is officially international. We have transcended our country's borders. And here's a picture of Trevor.
He looks a little familiar to me, Reggie.
I don't know what you're talking about, really. Yeah, he's just a coincidence, really. So Trevor lives in Palma, Mallorca, Spain, and he got his T-shirt and was proud to take some pictures with it. If you don't know, Palma, Mallorca is a small island of the south of mainland Spain, and it's very, very beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if the Just Be Cool T-shirt wasn't enough to say "Wish you were here," everything else about those pictures are.
Absolutely, it's a beautiful place. It really is,
and a nice T-shirt.
Yes, that too. And then we have 11-year-old Ben in Nashville who got his shirt just before he went back to school.
Yep, and I'll tell you what, it is, you know, I feel really good about this message because, you know, nobody likes to see kids used for like as billboards or political messages, but like I feel really good about what we're doing here and just this idea of acceptance. I mean, you see this young child and just it just makes me feel really good about what we're doing.
Yeah, and really and truly, when you think about it, there shouldn't be anything political about telling people to just be cool. Yeah. And the next one is I was really touched by this one. Matt is actually a former high school student of mine. From maybe about 10 years ago or more, actually. I think it's more than 10 years, probably 12 or 14 years ago. You might remember him, Paco, because he was at LHS when you were there.
Yep.
Anyway, he sent in this photo with his wife, Sally Ann, and he said this: "Too many people are arguing and picking sides without listening to one another. And Matt and Sally have adopted our saying whenever they see injustice and hate in the world."
Yeah, and I would offer this as a suggestion to anybody when you're in the car and you get frustrated, or when you're watching the news and all of the talking heads are just making all the noise. Instead of getting mad and instead of yelling all of the expletives at the TV screen, just lean back in your chair and just say, if only they would just be cool, the world would be so much better. It feels good to say. Just be cool.
Just be cool. But with no expletive, right?
I mean, that's owner's discretion. Owner's discretion.
We can't put that on a shirt, Paco.
No, we will not put that on the shirt. No.
No, we would never do that. And not that expletive has ever been uttered by either of us. Because remember,
nor do we condone.
Absolutely, never. Mm-mm. Absolutely. Okay. Well,
although,
anyway,
although back in the Lincoln day, we were known to have Mad Libs. So maybe we can do a special edition Mad Lib version of the T-shirt where there's a little blank space right here. Just be blank cool.
Oh no. Describing word. Okay, anyway, feel free to send us your photos. You can post them to our Facebook page or send them to us via email.
All right, Reggie, it's raffle time. This is when we select a deserving teacher to receive a free shirt. If you want to nominate a teacher, click on the nominating form found on our Facebook page or our website, justbecool.co.
This month's winner is Chelsea Milazzo. Chelsea is a third-grade teacher at Fort Braden, a pre-K through 8th grade school in Tallahassee. She was nominated by Brittany Smeckenbecker, who said Chelsea creates a caring and compassionate classroom for all students.
All right, that's it for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to our writers, graphics team, producers, and editors.
Paco, yeah, you know we don't have any of those people, right? It's just us.
Yeah, well, yeah. But be sure to check us out online at our website, www.justbecool.co, and our Facebook page. Feel free to email us at justbecoolyall@gmail.com.
In a world where you can be anything, be considerate, be kind, and just be cool.
Use the hate, don't act the fool. Spewing words, vile and cruel. Live by the golden rule. Consider it kind and just be cool.